What's going on, YouTube? Welcome back to another Heart Over Height episode. Today, we're going to be talking everything fantasy football. As I put out a football video before, I want to start posting more fantasy football content as I just really enjoy the year, this time of year and everything like that. So if you do enjoy this content, it would be a huge favor. Smash the like button, subscribe to the YouTube channel, comment down below on your fantasy team. Let me know your record and everything. Let's have a discussion. Did you end up with somebody like Cooper Kupp or Tyreek Hill just are having down years or injuries? Let me know in the comments. So without further ado, let's get into this. So just to start off, let's just recap my team. Let's go to the full schedule here that we have. Week 1, I took a dub. Then week 2, I did take my first L, so I started off the season 1-1. And then week 3, week 4, won back-to-back games. This week 4 was very crazy. I'll get into that a little bit, but let's go over the team. As you guys saw from the previous video, I did draft Caleb Williams. I didn't start him this week, but I did draft Caleb Williams. I picked up Sam Darnold. He was just sitting there on waivers, so it was between him and Baker. I thought, let me go ahead and grab Sam Darnold as my starter for the week. I thought that he would be decent against the New York Jets, but he had a pretty rough game. Only scored 4 points, so that was definitely a bummer. Next up, Kyren Williams, my starting running back. He scored 15.5 points, under projected value, but that's all good because I did have a big game, as you guys can see down below. James Cook here, my second running back off the board. Oh, just to say, I did have the 7th pick in my fantasy football draft. So if you do see, like, my first round pick was Ja'Marr Chase, so on and so forth. So keep that in mind as we get more and more into this roster. All right, so Ja'Marr Chase scored me 41 points. He went off today. It was a great, exciting game. Amari Cooper, I started him as wide receiver 2. He got me 10 points. I still have Travis Kelce to play. Zay Flowers, 19 points. The Jets defense got me 11. Jake Moody, the kicker for the Niners, got me 8. Off the bench, I have Cooper Kupp sitting here. He's injured. He's kind of just waiting for when he comes back to take over that wide receiver 2 spot for Amari Cooper or even flex there. But Caleb Williams, I have such a tough time with Caleb Williams because I started him the first 3 weeks. He ended up week 1 was pretty rough. Week 2 was all right. Week 3, pretty rough again. Week 4, he just hasn't had anything great. So I was like, that's why I decided to start Sam Darnold. I then go benching Caleb Williams, and of course he has his best game. Now, of course, I probably should have thought about Carolina's defense a little bit more, but that's all right. Off my bench, too, I still have Tony Pollard, Ladd McConkey, Zach Moss, and Darnell Mooney, who unfortunately I benched. He will probably be more of a permanent flex spot for me just because he is looking as one of the top 1 or 2 receivers there in Atlanta. And then on IR, I have TJ Hawkinson sitting there as backup tight end. Hopefully he can get back before Travis Kelce's bye, and then we'll be good. But if not, we'll look at moving someone around here to go get a backup tight end. Let's take a look at my matchup right now. Fantasy cast right here. So currently I am winning 126 to 101. The matchup here was Dak Prescott, Bijan Robinson, Austin Eckler, Chris Olave, Jacoby Myers, Tucker Kraft, who had a pretty good game, Chuba Hubbard, who had a decent game. Vikings defense had a great game, and then Santos for the Chicago kicker, who had an okay game. You look at the bench here, definitely missed some value on Brandon Ayuk there, Kyle Pitts. I mean, 24 points right there is, you can't really give that up. So no worries there, but this game right here is scaring me. This Pitt-Dallas game is delayed. Still having, of course, Dak Prescott and Chris Olave. I'm not nervous, but, there's only a 64% chance to win. We all know the projections. It's only projecting me to win by a solid 4 points right there. So, that's kind of, I don't know why it went away from Fantasy Cast, but I still have Travis Kelce, so I'm hoping Travis, especially with Rashee Rice being gone, he kind of pops off, has a little bit of resurgence. That'll make me feel super comfortable. If he pops off for a 20-piece, then I feel very comfortable going into that week. So far, my team has looked pretty good. Now, I have been discussing with some of the fellow league mates that we have here about moving some pieces around just to be, like Zay Flowers, for example, is somebody on this roster that he's got a lot of potential, a lot of upside. Like you saw, 7 receptions, 111 yards today. But one, he doesn't get in the end zone a ton. And two, this offense is so run heavy. Today they were airing out the ball, but last week they dominated and he barely got the ball. So starting guys like, especially with Cooper Kupp coming back soon, having Tony Pollard here who had an 18-point game last week, Zach Moss even, and then Darnell Mooney as well, there's no real need for a guy like Zay Flowers on this roster. So I'm looking to package him, maybe one of these running backs here, Tony Pollard or Zach Moss, to kind of upgrade and go get somebody else to be, I don't even know what I'd be looking at per se, but been talking with a few guys about some positions that they've a couple guys like Marvin Harrison Jr., for example, who had, he'll be on the up and coming, of course. Talking to people about someone like Chris Olave or even Brandon Ayuk, who's kind of a buy low at the moment. Devontae Adams, too, buy low. On these other people's rosters, we can go through and look at the other matchups. This is a close matchup here. But, of course, Steelers defense and CeeDee Lamb is giving a huge edge to Team Preston here that you guys can see. But Jake Ferguson, hey, if he gets in the end zone once or twice, we saw it today with the tight end like Isaiah Likely. So it is possible. Then we look at, but yeah, I think guys that you can buy low right now, Travis Etienne, Breece Hall, Marvin Harrison Jr. Let's see, on this roster here, I would say Stevenson had a good game today, but he hadn't been having a good game or good season so far. I think, of course, you're not getting Malik Neighbors. That's untouchable. You might look at somebody like David Njoku is a buy low guy. If they start Jameis Winston, I think that offense can change. That's why I have held on to Amari Cooper on my roster. Next up here, this matchup is pretty much over. I don't really see, Patrick popping off for a 40-piece. But that's somebody that maybe we upgrade QB. We look at somebody like Patrick Mahomes, as this team looks like they definitely could use a little bit of, their team's pretty solid here. Maybe a tight end, so maybe packaging a Travis Kelce and something like that. But overall, this is definitely a blowout of a win. Next up here, another big dominating performance. This team is scary here. Lamar Jackson, of course, you still have Kamara. James Conner had a decent game. Garrett Wilson finally had a good game. Drake London had a banger game. Isaiah Likely, 2 touchdowns, as I talked about earlier. Jordan Mason didn't have a great game, but we know what he can do in this Niner offense. And then this guy has Amon-Ra on bye. He's got Mark Andrews sitting there waiting. Tank Dell, who can pop off any given week. You have Pacheco on IR. There's potential with this roster. Same thing on this side. We have guys like DK, who gets in the end zone all the time. We have, Trey Sermon had a really good game today. Jaden Daniels is that guy for the Commanders. We all know it. We all can see it. You have DJ Moore, had a fantastic game today. Saquon here. The balance in our league is actually pretty good. You'll notice that a lot. The balance in our league, we'll go up to this next matchup. The final matchup in our league, we do play a 10-man, but there's a lot of dominating teams, but it seems like it's kind of a week-to-week basis. Here, we have, of course, Joe Burrow had a fantastic game, pairing that alongside with the stack of T. Higgins with 29 and 33. Terry was able to get 4 receptions for 112 yards, given a decent game. The Bears defense, that's a solid pickup right there. One of the best defenses in the league right now. Justin Tucker's always going to be putting up points for you. And then on the other side of the ball, Commanders defense played really well today. That secondary's pretty tough, pretty weak, but the D-line is crazy. The kicker for Houston did great today. You look at George Kittle, great game, of course. Brock Purdy's going to have better games here. He's going to be a very serviceable, not a huge high ceiling, but, a lower floor. Derrick Henry last week put up a big game. So, there's always potential. Now, of course, these rosters here that have guys like Tyreek Hill, as I talked about before, just a bit of a bummer. But, yeah, let's go back to my matchup real quick. We'll just recap. I am getting a little bit nervous because the Chris Olave, Dak Prescott, who knows? That Saints-Kansas City game could be a shootout. a 35-33 game. And if that's the case, Chris Olave could be looking at a touchdown or two in that game. Dak Prescott, Pitt, it's definitely a tough matchup for Dak, which could be seeing a lot of potential, especially since he doesn't have the greatest weapons. Yes, he's got CeeDee Lamb, but outside of that, I'm not too thrilled by the weapons that they have there. I mean, their running backs is like Zeke. It's nothing fantastic. And then Travis Kelce just been having a down year so far. So I think it'll pick up, of course, and I think that he's actually destined for one of those breakout games here soon. And I hope that I can hold on to this lead. Definitely a bummer that the 1 week I decide to bench Caleb Williams, he finally pops off for 23. And then, of course, I picked, Darnell Mooney just sitting there not at my flex. I don't know what I was thinking. I wanted to put him in the flex, but I just checked my lineup right after the game had started on Thursday, so that was definitely a bummer. But overall, I'm going to be posting more content on fantasy football. Check out my shorts. I'm going to be posting some shorts here in the near future of just good matchups for the weeks to come, player-by-player videos. So if you do enjoy this content, do me a huge favor, smash the like button, subscribe to the YouTube channel, comment down below on your fantasy football team. I want to see them. I want to know what's good for you, what's been bad for you, everything like that. So without further ado, it's been another Heart Over Height episode, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.